Hey, what are you doing?
Getting things ready for Mom.
Mom's dead, Jeff.
She doesn't have to be.
Something strange.
Now, I didn't think much about it until I saw him drag the body out of the coffin.
Something ancient.
Bury your own.
Something evil.
Was it your idea of a joke to send me blood from a dead animal?
This dog is alive.
Not this dog.
Something terrifying is happening in Ludlow, Maine. Again.
Pick up your family and get the hell out of that town!
Pet Sematary 2.
Welcome back to the 31 Days of Spooks. I'm Dylan Goebel, and today we're talking about Pet Sematary 2, released in 1992. The film is directed by Mary Lambert, who also directed the first film, and stars Edward Furlong and Clancy Brown. Okay, so what is Pet Sematary 2 about? Similar plot to the first film, except this time it's a fucking kid whose mother dies on a movie set, moves into his deceased mother's home, and all of a sudden discovers the Pet Sematary. And if you know what the story of Pet Sematary is, you know what's coming. Okay, so what do I think of Pet Sematary 2? It's not a particularly good film. There's definitely some flaws here. But this movie's a ton of fun. This is a huge guilty pleasure of mine. This movie is a blast. This movie, it's not the same kind of film as the first one. The first movie is like a drama horror kind of thing. This movie is just full on gory, violent, campy horror. It's if you like that kind of stuff, you'll definitely have some fun with Pet Sematary 2. This movie, it's got, like, if you like gore, you're gonna love this film. Fuck, you got throats being ripped out by dogs, you got heads exploding, and lots more. This movie goes for the violence, and it is fucking awesome. Also, the acting in this movie, well, very, very over the top. Especially by Clancy Brown, the voice of Mr. Krabs, fun fact. Yeah, his performance is so fucking over the top. And, it's fucking great. I had a ton of fun watching this movie for how over the top and insane it is. Now, and then yeah, and like the acting, well, very over the top, very enjoyable. The story is interesting too, even though there are some flaws here. For one, this movie has no sense of subtlety. This movie deals with shit. It does deal with some similar themes as the first movie, with like grief, but then it's also dealing with abuse and shit like that. And while the first movie definitely had a lot more subtlety, this one does not have any. It's done in a very blunt, over-the-top way, and if that's something that does not like satisfy you, this movie's gonna piss you off. Like, even with the abuse, like, there's a part where there is a sexual assault scene in this movie, and it's done in a very over-the-top way. So if that's not something you're comfortable watching, I would steer clear. Just being warned. And like I said, if you're squeamish, this movie's gory. If you're squeamish, you might be looking away through some scenes, so you're gonna miss out on some cool shit. So maybe steer clear. I mean, the first movie had gore too, but it's nowhere near as over the top as this one. And yeah, there's like, and when it comes to horror, there's not really tension. Like, it gets intense. And if you like over-the-top visceral horror, you're gonna like this film. But if you're more of like the psychological horror, the fucking sense of dread, and shit like that, this movie is not gonna fucking fill your... This movie's not gonna satisfy you in a way that your standards of horror will satisfy you. This movie is just strictly for people who like campy, gory, violent horror films. Now I'll just say, yes, this movie's gory and it's very over the top. I'm not saying it's like Cannibal Holocaust levels and shit like that, but especially for a movie that came out at this time that it did, the MPAA let them get away with quite a bit. That's what I'm getting at. But yeah, Pet Sematary 2, it's not very subtle, and it's not like, it's not a horror film with substance. It's not a horror film with actual, effective scares, but it is intense. This is just the fun kind of horror, at least to me. I think this is a very fun film. It's a huge guilty pleasure of mine. It's nowhere near as good as the first film. I'm not going to say how it compares to the 2019 film yet, because I will be reviewing that soon, just in time for Pet Sematary. Bloodline's coming out on Paramount Plus, not in theaters, unfortunately, but we'll see how. I mean, I haven't seen Bloodlines yet, so I don't know how good or bad the movie is, but right now I'm talking about Pet Sematary 2, and I just think it's a very fun popcorn horror film. I think it does, it sets out, it accomplishes what it sets out to do perfectly fine. I'm gonna give Pet Sematary 2 a B. So what did you think of Pet Sematary 2? Comment below, let me know, and if you like my stuff, you can like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.